I think we should probably get into it first, but let's get into LeBron news this morning that he was opting in to his $52 million contract, 52.6, and he will be evaluating his future with the Lakers. And there were some, I wouldn't say cryptic remarks by Rich Paul, but there were some remarks by Rich Paul that said he knows the Lakers are building for the future. He understands that, but he values a realistic chance at winning it all. We are very appreciative of the partnership that we've had for 8 years with Jeannie Buss and Rob Pelinka, and consider the Lakers as a critical part of his career. So I'll pass the mic to you, Eric. When you hear that, what was your feeling on that, and just your reaction?
I have, definitely a few reactions to that. I maybe innocently enough was thinking, okay, he's going to opt in because it's most likely he's going to be his last season, and let's just go with it. And hey, if he decides to be a free agent next year and go at it again, then so be it. But of course, this news had to drop where it's very cryptic, but it's kind of getting real. I think like we've always suspected it, but this is the first time where I've actually felt like there is a chance that Lakers could move on from LeBron. I'm not saying it's going to happen. It's probably not. But this is the first real chance of it. And so my thoughts are Lakers are in a weird spot where they're kind of picking up the pieces of the last few years trying to build a roster around LeBron to get back to championship level, to all of a sudden on a dime trading for Luka, and then now really building for his future. It is it's a tough spot to be in. I don't think it's an easy spot to be in. And so I think that's what we're seeing here. In my opinion, I think LeBron, look, he couldn't, because I'm sure some people are thinking like, well, if he didn't want to be on the Lakers, he could have just not opted in. We just said the Nets are the only team with any cap space. He was not going to be going to the Nets, right?
He ain't going to the Nets.
He ain't going to Brooklyn. He ain't going to the state of New York.
He might be going to New York, but he ain't going to Brooklyn.
Yep. So that was there, right? If he as hopefully most of you know, or if you don't, he has a no trade clause. So if he opts in, that still holds. If he opts out, signs a new deal, maybe the Lakers and LeBron talked a new deal. I'm pretty sure they had it on the table for him, but maybe it didn't involve a no trade clause. Now that they have Luka, they don't have to give him everything, and so maybe it's that. And so if he would have opted out, and let's say Lakers would have signed him, they wouldn't have been able to trade him until either December 15th or January 15th, I believe, right? So there's all these things that you're starting to kind of look and think about where, wow, it's not just as simple as he wants to play one more season and he's just going to ride this out. It's pretty calculated, and so it'll be interesting to see. I think this is the first time where it's real, where LeBron is like, hey, you guys might have to show me something or else I'm out. And the question is, do the Lakers have to show him something?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, my first thought was, I thought it was pretty surprising how blunt Rich Paul was with his assessment of why they were opting in. The reasons that you gave were pretty substantial as far as like money, and he's not going to make any more money if he opts out and signs with another team. And the only way he can kind of control the narrative, and to be honest, is really to opt in, because that can control the narrative whether or not he wants to be traded or not, right? Because I think he's obviously earned that kind of right. I don't think they're going to trade him like they would have. I mean, we never thought AD would be traded that way, but they're not going to trade LeBron that way. They're going to work out something with him to know where he would be going. So I think that was part of it, right? So it's a negotiating tactic from him, and it's also puts pressure on Rob Pelinka and the Lakers to get some deals done in time for them to compete this year. Now, on the other end, Rob Pelinka, I think, obviously LeBron's done what he's done. He's served all his time with the Lakers. He's got him a championship. but his hat, I think, now lies with Luka. And so if that means his future is different because of that, I think that's where he's going to kind of put his foot in the sand in terms of as far as how LeBron feels about this team. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, the day we traded for Luka, it changed things. Yeah. And obviously, LeBron was All NBA last year. I know it's year 23, and so but he's still one of the better players in the league. So that's what he does on the floor. Hate to say it, or not hate to say it, but for those that don't like LeBron, it is hard to replace. And so, but it is probably time to start thinking about that. If LeBron just plays next year and there's no distraction about him wanting to get traded and things like that, and like I'm all for it. But I'm kind of, this is, one of the first times where I'm like, hey, if we can kind of get some capital for him, I'd be for it. Yeah. It just would have to be the right fit. And it's tough because if it's like LeBron's like he's going to limit where he wants to go, and he has that no trade clause. And so sometimes you don't get really what you would want to get because of that. And so, and also he is 40 and he's not going to play a lot more years and things like that. So it wouldn't be a big haul like you probably would expect. But hopefully it would be something. But at the same time, I'd rather obviously just have him play, and then we can just build a roster around these two for one last season, maybe two, and then just go from there. And just on a side note, sorry. So some may be thinking like, oh, maybe he could have opted out and they could have done a sign and trade. So if they would have done that, it really would have put other teams in like cap hell, basically. So that really wasn't going to work out. So this was the only way to get to a trade or get to another team. Not saying that's what's going to happen, but by LeBron opting in, he opened a lot of doors. Let's just say that.
Yeah, for sure. I'm sure you've heard or seen the video of LeBron at dinner and him saying, I ain't mad at looking at New York, and Savannah wants him to retire in a year or so. So when I think, if we were to go into hypotheticals of if it comes to a point where LeBron is going to be traded from the Lakers, one thing I do know is he's only going to a contender, right? Oh, yeah. And when you look at contenders, those contenders, if I were LeBron, have to be on the East Coast. Like, I just don't think the only other team he's realistically going to would probably be the Warriors. And I just don't think they have anything to kind of give the Lakers besides maybe like, Kuminga. But I just don't think they can actually do the salaries because they already have Jimmy, Steph, and Dre. So we would have to take back Dre or something like. It just wouldn't make any sense at this point. I think they've made their move with Jimmy, and that would never make any sense with LeBron right now at this point. But when you look at the East Coast, you got a whole conference that has been rattled by injuries going into next year. Right, you have multiple players out with Achilles injuries, Tatum, Lillard, and Halliburton. So that brings down those teams' values. So then you're looking at, all right, well, who's really stacked right now and could contend? And that's the Cleveland Cavs and the New York Knicks. He already talked about he ain't mad at looking about New York. And we already know how he feels about Cleveland. And could you imagine LeBron going home again to finish his career to win a championship with the Cleveland Cavs? So those are the two teams that I think if anything shall happen or happens, those are the only two teams I think can happen. And I do think the Lakers could get value back from those two teams. What are your thoughts before I kind of get into players, if potential player kind of swaps with that?
Yeah, just to piggyback your Golden State Warriors thoughts. I mean, it was a thought about a year ago, but when they got Jimmy Butler, it really just put a nail in the coffin on that one. It just wouldn't work. So yeah, it's really truly two teams. It's one conference, right? The East, and then you got to start thinking about contenders. You're going to go through a list. It's not going to be Boston. We talked about Philadelphia. It's not going to be them. It's not going to be Detroit. It's not going to be Milwaukee. So wouldn't it be something if his third stint in Cleveland finishes off his career? So if it was any other player, I don't think Cleveland would even be in the picture either. But we know the ties of LeBron, being from Akron and all that good stuff. And so that's just, don't have to say much about that. And then lastly, if there was another team from coast to coast, you played in Los Angeles, you're going to finish off your career in Broadway. Knicks are right there. They were in the Eastern Conference Finals. So, yeah, if it was even flirted with the idea, it would truly only be two teams. And with it being only two teams, like we'd have to see what kind of players they'd get back.
Yeah, and I find the Knicks position a little interesting because they haven't signed a head coach yet. And to me, I mean, I know they've kind of miscalculated this whole head coaching search, but I do think there's been some back channels to get some feelers out there as far as like what type of players would like certain kind of coaches. And that's what makes it interesting to me, because like right now they're going into an NBA free agency without a head coach. We know that they're not going to be able to sign any big time free agency. Their team is pretty much stacked the way it is. They're going to have to make their moves with trades. Yep. And I think, based on cap and availability, there's some possibility the Lakers could be able to match some salaries and be able to move a LeBron. And I would imagine Bronny would be going with him in any type of trade, because I can't imagine the Lakers having Bronny without LeBron. But I mean, who knows? I'm just saying that because it just makes more sense for them to go together. Yep. But I do think there's some packages, whether it's like Mitchell Robinson coming back with maybe even possibly like an OG, right, coming back with that, and us giving up LeBron, and I'm sure some draft picks in that order. But those salaries match, and I think there's some ways to make that work. Now, when you look at Cleveland's end, I think there's going to have to be a third team in that. There's a lot of salary cap implications for both teams. So more than likely, you'd have to have some sort of third team involved in that trade there.
Yeah, like perfect world, it would be nice. Sorry, go ahead.
No, good. I was going to say, but they both have big guys that we want, like a Jared Allen or a Mitchell Robinson. I highly doubt the Lakers could get Evan Mobley, or else I would trade LeBron in a heartbeat right now. But it's no disrespect to LeBron, but like getting a young guy like Evan Mobley, I doubt the Cavs would want to give up somebody like that. But like a Jared Allen, I think it's possible, and Mitchell Robinson would be possible. So that solves kind of the big man dilemma.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it would be nice to get those pieces, which wouldn't happen without trading LeBron. But yeah, it's in theory, it would be lovely if it was just more for draft capital, just to build for those next 3 or 4 years. But we know how the salaries work. LeBron's making 50 plus this year, so we're going to have to get some salary back that's going to get somewhat close to matching it. And it's Luka's time, so it'd be nice to get some players that can come right in and produce. So yeah, it would be a lot of moving parts with Cleveland, obviously. But with New York, I think you put it out there today on Twitter, the trade machine and an OG would be part of it. And as long as Lakers can get a couple maybe picks out of it too, that would be something that would need to be tacked on, in my opinion. Of course, this is all hypothetical. I expect LeBron to be suited up for the Lakers this year. It's just a little interesting right now. I know especially LeBron, from LeBron's camp, there's so much calculation with the things that he puts out there through his agent or himself. I don't know. It's like Lakers are a little bit handcuffed, so I don't know what they can really do. But they have to make a decision based on the future, not just this year. And I know us Laker fans are going to hate to say that, but it's the reality.
I always want to ask this question, but do you think LeBron felt some type of way about them trading AD for Luka like that? Like, do you think he felt either caught off guard, backstabbed? I know they, like, once everything settled down, he's like, oh shoot, Luka's here, right? That's a megastar. But do you feel that was anything that has affected his relationship or just his feelings toward playing with the Lakers, continuing with the Lakers?
I don't know about backstab, but I do think it opened his eyes. Like, even myself, one of the reasons why we were able to get stars in the past is because we really do take care of them. We pay them really past the time we probably should. I keep saying we, but the Lakers keep, Kobe had a real big contract when, let's be honest, it was this kind of last year's. And we're seeing that right now with LeBron. I mean, LeBron's definitely, in a different stratosphere right now. So I think on that note, I think he was a little bit surprised, as I was. But I would imagine he has to understand the business of it all. And it wasn't trading AD for, Klay Thompson and like 3 first-round picks and one of the big guys, right? It was for Luka freaking Doncic. And so I think he sees like, oh, wow, it could happen to anyone. But he probably understands it had to be done. I mean, he would have probably done the same thing if he was in the front office.
Yeah, I would imagine he came to an understanding. I'm sure he was surprised by it, like everybody was. And, AD was his brother. Like, Rich Paul didn't know. Like, a lot of, according to everybody that's talked about it, there was a lot of not knowing of anything going on. And that's how this trade had to get down.
Yes.
But it just, surprising. I wonder if it swayed any opinions on whether or not he wanted to continue, or he's kind of like, hey, maybe I should get out of the way because this is going to be their future. Like, almost like, hey, am I holding the Lakers back from doing anything? Maybe it's time for me to move on and kind of go to that team and play my last season or two out with that. So it's just interesting to kind of see, but it is, making a statement that he wants to win now. Obviously, he's always wanted to win, but right now he's saying he wants to go to a team that can, essentially, is from what Rich Paul said. So Rob Pelinka has a lot on his plate tonight and this whole week of being able to get some deals done, whether it's signing a free agent or some trades.
Well, look, yeah, LeBron, we don't know for sure, but one could assume this whole time he's been here, he's probably been in the know about every single thing that's going to transpire. So if he really didn't know, which I know there's speculation about that, but it does feel like he didn't, then yeah, I think that probably changes his thought a little bit. I don't know if he's thinking about, maybe moving over for the Lakers. He's probably going to be thinking about himself, number one. And so, yeah, it's going to apply a little bit more pressure on Rob. We know we got new ownership coming in, and little do we know, he may have, the vote of confidence from them, and he may be here for a long time. But he does have to start to cook some more these next couple seasons, that's for sure. Even with the flex, he doesn't have much flexibility, unfortunately, but it's got to find a way to try to make some things happen.
Yep.